Welcome to Stat, I'm telling you all medical true crime stories, and it gets bizarre. Karen Wickham, yeah, she used to work in ER, and now she's sharing the knowledge, so let's get involved. Hey, funny and scary at the same time. Medical mysteries, all facts, she ain't lying. So tune in to Stat if you dare, cause crazy things can happen anytime, anywhere. Yeah.
Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to Stat, Shocking Traumas and Treatments. I tripped over that a bit. Coming to you from beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Hi, this is Karen, your friendly neighborhood Karen.
And this is Mary, your friendly neighborhood Mary.
Yeah, but you don't have a shitty connotation attached to your name. Everybody thinks of Mary, they think like, oh, Mary, she was the mother of Jesus. And Mary, she had a little lamb.
Oh, I see.
You know, so no one goes, oh, God, there's a fucking Mary asking for the manager again. Right?
It's so unfair to you.
It's just a name, right? But it is. I think it's funny. I do.
Okay.
So today we're going to talk about Gwendolyn Graham and Cathy Wood, two nurses' aides that murdered patients at Alpine Manor. Now, I think it's been presented that it's two women that killed people in the throes of passion. Like, you know, they get off on it. Okay? And that is true to a certain extent. But I see this as a woman that manipulated other women and gaslit them and used and abused these women, literally. And her psychopathy just spun out of control. And it led to this. And she was able, and I'm talking about Cathy Wood here, and she drew Gwendolyn Graham into this. And in no way is Gwendolyn Graham innocent. But as you're about to hear, she was able to draw her in. And if the two had not met, I don't believe Gwendolyn Graham would have committed these murders.
Yeah, and you've been reading and researching this for a couple months now.
Yeah.
And I think you've got a pretty good handle on it.
So Cathy Wood and Gwendolyn Graham together murdered at least 5 elderly patients at Alpine Manor. And I want to start the story with Cathy Wood, the mastermind behind all this, like I said. And I'm going to start around the time where she married her husband or met her husband. Okay? So she met her husband, Ken, through Ken's younger brother, Terry. So it was almost like a chance meeting because she was interested in Terry and called up, and it was Ken that answered the phone. And they ended up talking for hours and hours. They continued to call each other, talk forever, and decided that they wanted to meet. So for the first meeting, he said he would go pick her up. She met him down the block from where she lived because she didn't want him to know where she lived. She didn't want her parents to know all about him because she was only 17 years old at the time and he was 20 years old. So even though it's a 3-year difference at that age, it's a big difference.
Yeah, I can see that.
The younger you are, a 3-year, 5-year age gap is big. So he went to pick her up and waited in the spot and saw someone in a hooded jacket facing away and didn't realize it was her. She was a big lady and he thought she was a guy. So when she turned around and walked towards him, like he had no idea that she was like 6 feet tall and almost the same size as him. She was built, like they say, as like a brick shit house. Big, strong. She had some extra weight on, woman. So he was like, whoa, he wasn't expecting that. But he didn't care. So they met and they developed a relationship. And almost immediately, she started telling him lies about her family, about how she was a victim of abuse of her family. And there is no indication that this actually happened. And she was like a chronic liar. And she kept telling these stories as time went along, not just to him, but to anybody that would listen to it. And it was one of the tools that she used to suck people in. So her parents, her dad, drove a forklift at a food warehouse, and her mom was a bookkeeper. They lived in Comstock Park in Michigan. And she had a younger sister and brother, which you don't hear that much about. Eventually, Ken met Cathy's parents. And the mother, Pat, did all the talking. And she set it out straight how this relationship was going to play out if he wanted to continue seeing her. And he talked about that expectations. He can't drink. They can't sort of be alone together outside of a public space. All your values.
So sort of, yeah, very kind of strict Christian.
Yeah, exactly.
Ish.
So he was like, all right, fair enough. And at the time he had his own apartment and they spent most of their time at his apartment. So, that kind of, he listened and she listened, but they had no intention of following that stuff. Cathy started testing him early on. She was manipulative. And she was always putting him on the spot, trying to trip him up with the things he'd say. So even like, what did you do today, Ken? Well, I went to work. Well, are there women that work there? Do you check them out? Do they check you out? That kind of stuff. And she'd say stuff like, "You love me, but you don't really like me, do you?" Like, how do you answer that? He could say, "Of course I do." And then she would say, "Well, this and that and whatever, And he'd be like, no. And he couldn't win with whatever he said.
Yeah. So just like constant stuff. Did you tell me she sent like a friend to try to seduce him or something?
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
So she played mind games with him. Gotcha. And this is exactly the next thing I was going to say. So that was a perfect segue. She would have her friends call him anonymously to get him to, see if he would cheat on her. So they'd be like, "Hi, Ken, you're cute. Do you want to meet up?" And he'd be like, "Who are you?" And no. So everything she tried with him, but he knew it was her friends. So is that not like a red herring? Is that the red herring?
No. Red flag.
Oh, red flag.
Yeah, to me, that would be a huge red flag.
Like, and it's so juvenile. So mind you, she is 17 years old, but still... at 17, there's a lot of 17-year-olds that won't do that. So it just shows how manipulative and possessive she was. So Ken assumed that she had never been loved by her parents or anyone for that matter. Because of the story that she told him, it was like, poor Cathy, no one's ever loved her, and this is why she acts this way. And she demanded like unconditional love from him. And you'll see how bad it gets. She said her mother did not love her, and her father was a Vietnam vet, and he didn't love her, and he beat her, and he was an alcoholic. This just wasn't true. She said she raised her brother and sister, but it was never enough for her parents. And this was not true. They were home every night. The parents raised their kids. They both had solid jobs, and her father didn't do those things. And that because they were so cold and uncaring, she just, she was a victim and, all that stuff. So she asked Ken who he put number one in his life. And he said, God. And she got really pissed off. She's like, how can you love God more than me? And he wasn't like a super religious guy, but he was, God-fearing, so to speak. And
right.
So, if you...
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, if you were... I mean, we're both kind of spiritual people, but if that was your upbringing and stuff, like, of course.
You would expect that, right?
That's what you would be taught. God
Exactly.
first, right?
Especially, Christians are very, well, in my experience, Christians, whatever. The fact is, the next is usually family, so...
Right. Which you would consider your wife to be, I would think.
Yeah. So, another thing is that he loved basketball. And if he wanted to go to a game or watch it, she'd like, "You love basketball more than me."
Oh, God.
And he would get tickets to go see, games and be really excited about it. And he wouldn't go because she was so brutal about it. Like, how do you, again...
Another red flag.
He's religious and he loves basketball. That sounds pretty all-American to me. And, what do you say? Now he's, like, expected to give up his love of sports, and how dare he, have a love greater than hers. So he still went to a game, and she decided she didn't see him or talk to him for a week. Like...
Yeah, okay. How old was she at that time? Was she still a teenager?
Oh, she was like 18 at this time.
Okay.
So she said to him, like, to justify the thing she did, she said that, "Oh, my parents wouldn't let me see you because they think you're a drug addict." Now,
What?
Yeah. So for him, right off the bat, he said to her, "If you do drugs, that's it." He absolutely hated drugs. So she took it and turned it around. And he, like, she knew this would get under her skin. So this is how this played out. She said her dad forced her to go to school and buy drugs for him. Okay? And so
because he's a drug addicted alcoholic Vietnam vet who beats her.
Go to school, find a dealer, get me some weed, and that's you have to do that. So Ken's like, "That son of a bitch. How could he do that to her?" So you can see he's pretty naive, but he's a good guy, right? I mean, and this is why she got away with so much. So for her, it's like, all right, I'm going to just see how far I can take this. So he was like, "Oh, she's in such an abusive situation," and he asked her to move in with him. And she did within a couple of days. She also revealed to him that she was pregnant. So he was surprised by this, but not unhappy. But to go from dating to moving in to being pregnant, that's a lot to take in. So she carried on with more of her lies to him. She told him that she was being stalked and would wake him up in the middle of the night to test him. And he would go pick her up because he was worried about her safety. But she wasn't being stalked. She also told Ken when they first got together that she was a virgin. And he was also a virgin. So for them to be both virgins coming together, it was just, another perfect situation. And this was not true. She had dated before, and she had been, now this is going to sound weird, but she was in a relationship when she was 14 to 15 years old with a girl named Debbie, who dressed like a guy and liked to be called David. It's not weird, but it just adds some strangeness to the whole situation. So I'm going to refer from now on as Debbie David. So
Debbie David, okay.
So you understand.
But this is before, obviously now it's quite more common for people to be transgendered and very open about it. So, but back then in a small town.
Yeah, this was in the 80s in a small town. So Cathy admitted to having sex with David. And Cathy's mother, Pat, found out and threatened Debbie David within an inch of her life. And this all was true. But the fact is, when they were together, they did some pretty terrible things. She was always into cliques. She had to be the leader of a gang of friends or a bunch of friends. And if you wanted to be in her group of friends, she said that you had to do sexual things. And she would demand them to do I don't know what exactly, but it was sexual in nature. And then they would do that, and they would be part of the group.
All right, so it's like prove your loyalty by doing this.
Yeah,
thing,
I mean,
whatever it was.
that's pretty sick. You know, that's twisted. You want to be in our group? You got
very manipulative again, right? So,
and another thing about her, just quick, when she was 8, she was caught asking little kids to pull their pants down, and you know, it was very weird the stuff that she was doing to younger children.
So she was 8, and she was asking this of
younger children.
Younger children. Okay.
So, you know,
that's
you know,
a big
little
red flag
kids
there.
will play doctor sometimes. They're curious, but
Right.
getting into
Show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, but I think getting into that age and then forcing younger children to do that shows that she had some serious shit going on early on. So she tried to make herself out to be the victim, that she was manipulated by Dave, thinking that he was Dave and not Debbie.
Oh, right.
But
So
the
she
fact- yeah.
didn't know that he was
Yeah,
a she.
yeah, but
Really.
she
Or
knew that.
a trans man.
But she knew it all along. There's no truth to that at all.
Just another lie.
Yeah. And so Cathy convinced Ken that she had been victimized her whole life and that she had never felt love, the same theme here, and that she's been used and abused by everybody. And now she lost her virginity to, you know, one of those sinful, cross-dressing, you know, gay people. So after he found out she was pregnant, he's like, well, we need to get married. So she's like, all right, sounds good. And I don't know the exact date. I tried to find out, but I believe it was in 1980 that they got married. And it was a small ceremony. And after, he didn't like her parents. And after that, he liked them even less. And he felt that they were cheap and cold. They, you know, it was like, at the wedding, father's like, here's $50, buy all the booze, keep the change. And then afterwards, he's like, I want the booze and the change. But, I mean, that doesn't really make someone a bad person. It just makes them, you know, I don't know, irritating.
Well, it sounds like she pitted them against each other too, right?
Exactly.
Misinformation.
So, exactly. So, he continue on with this, like I said, this theme of like, see, they're horrible, aren't they? But now she is in the perfect situation. She's got this guy under her thumb. Now she's married. And now they have a child on the way. But strangely enough, within days of getting married, she's like, oh, I miss my family. I have to go see them. So she would go visit them 2-3 days out of the week and stay over. So these horrible people, she still had to go back and see them. So again, no evidence. You know, you can say, all right, so an abused person is, you know, drawn into that. But, you know, it was not that at all.
And who knows what she was telling them when she was there? Like, why was she there when she just got married? Oh, yeah, he's a jerk, whatever.
Exactly.
You know, who knows?
So they were living in his apartment at the time, and she convinced him to move into a house that was across the street from her parents' house. And this house was owned by her parents. It was her grandmother. She died. She left it to them, and the parents would rent it out. So they're like, oh, no, you move in. So again, she wanted to live across the street from them, be close to them, all that type of stuff. And he's like, I don't know if I like this, but okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, maybe he thought that somehow that would, you know, mend fences or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, and once they moved in, she was barely home. She was always out at her friends or at her parents' place. So here they're a married couple, and now she's continuing to act like, well, I mean, she was 18, and, you know, but still, she continued to act like they weren't married and weren't living together. She just was everywhere. And she was pregnant at the time at all hours of the night, and he's like, what the hell? We're a family now. We're married. And he had no privacy. People were always, when she was home, people were coming and going out of the house all the time. And she would tell them lies about Ken. And he's like, you know, what the fuck? This is brutal. So he said, that's it. We're moving. And a couple of weeks after Cathy gave birth to their daughter, he moved them about 15 miles away into a nice 2-bedroom house. in the southeast of Comstock. So finally, they were away from all of that. And now she had her baby. This is horrible because she turned out, and not surprising, to be a horrible mother. So no evidence that her parents were like this, but then she turns it out to be like an absolute horrible mother. And she was a slop. She barely paid any attention to her baby. All she did was read, eat, and she had put on weight to the point that she weighed 400 pounds within 2 years. Now, this isn't against people having excess weight. I definitely have it, but this is because she was just did nothing and wanted to be waited on hand and foot. Now, I just want to go back a little bit and give you an example of how much of a horrible mother she was. So, her daughter's name was Jamie, or is Jamie. When she was 13 months old, they went to a Detroit Tigers game, and there was a fly ball hit to the stands, and it was coming towards them. She picked up her baby and put her up to shield her from getting hit by a ball, to shield Cathy from being hit by a ball. So she used her child as a shield, not caring that this ball coming in at whatever could kill her baby, harm her baby. And Ken was like, what the hell? And then he just went, well, she's young and, she's inexperienced, so.
I would hold the baby to me or turn around or something like.
Well, any normal person would protect their child, not this maniac.
One would think, yeah. I mean, I've seen people like, I saw this one where the guy had a beer in one hand, a baby in the other, and he let go of the baby, caught the ball, and then caught the baby again, didn't spill his beer. And I was like,
that is bad.
I know that's bad, but just goes to show you,
some people just don't get it. Some people are terrible parents. And Cathy was always fighting with her daughter. She didn't see her as her daughter. She saw her as her enemy. She hated her daughter. She didn't get it. I don't mean she didn't get it. She hated her daughter, and she saw her as competition. So she would say to her husband, Jamie's trying to undermine my authority. And,
what?
She was 6 years old.
How?
At this time, she was 6 years old. And then she would say to Ken, you're not punishing her enough. And she's doing things to purposely upset me. And she thinks that she's the boss. And it's like,
she's 6 years old.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, there are some 6-year-olds that think they're the boss, but.
And then Ken would say exactly that. She's 6. She's not doing those things. Yes, kids can push the limits because they're learning, they're testing, all that kind of stuff. But they're not going, all right, bitch, who's the boss here? I'm
boss,
boss.
Baby. How
boss,
can
boss baby.
Undermine mom.
Yeah. She saw it as a battle of dominance and submission. And they fought every day.
She's your child.
I know, and it sounds like this is like a friend, or a sibling that she's talking about. But and she would say, she's disobedient, and she makes me nervous, and she doesn't show respect. And what do you mean she makes you nervous? It's just she's getting back to that victimized thing. She would stand behind Ken. So Ken would finally go, okay, what's going on here? And he would, talk to the little girl. She would stand behind him, and she'd be like pointing at her daughter, making, and making like ha 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 faces, laughing faces, and making it look like you're going to be hit, making, hand motions like he's going to kick the shit out of her. And the little girl would just stare at him and cry, terrified that he was going to hold her. So you see this woman standing behind going, ha ha, nana nana boo boo, he's going to kick the shit out of you. And he'd look at her and go, what's wrong? No, don't cry. Don't cry. It's okay. And so she would taunt her child behind him. He had no idea what was going on. And then he would soothe his child and say, look, it's all right. See, that's fucked. So obviously she had no mothering instincts. She just cared only of herself. She was a sociopath. I say psychopath. And she treated Jamie like she was a burden, and she clearly didn't like her child. And if she would become sick with a flu or the cold, Cathy would be like, go get away from me. I don't want to get it. Just go to your room. She wouldn't, check her temperature or bring her some soup or popsicles and care for her. She was like, get away from me. Now, the thing about Cathy is that she was incredibly smart. So, like Mensa smart. She knew how to talk around people and mess with their head. She loved to play cards and board games. And she would win most of these games. First of all, she was ruthless and she would cheat. And she would get in that person's face. Haha, you're a fucking idiot. I'm smarter than you. And if they made a bad move or whatever, she would like roar with laughter, point at them, and then try to humiliate them. And I don't know why anybody would play a game with this woman, because she was playing games with their head. So she would just, try to, get people under her thumb. And she also knew how to charm. And this goes with all the, the criteria is that she was manipulative and charming and pretty much could get what she wanted. While they're in public, she would act like the perfect mother. And then behind closed doors, she was a monster.
Of course.
But they would be out as a family, and Ken would think like, oh, well, this is how we can be. Maybe she's, turned the corner. And, Ken's starting to really piss me off at this point. Because is he really that naive? Because, all right, she might have been doing some shitty things to him, but now they have a child. And, he has to protect the child at this point. The other thing that she would do, like in this charming manipulative thing, is Ken would call her about the same time every day from work, and she'd be like, oh, you're so sexy. Come home. You're my lover, and we're going to get it on and stuff like that. And he'd be like, okay, finish work, race home, expecting like, some fun's going to happen. And she would just be like lying on the couch, reading in like old crappy clothes. And he'd come in and be like, hi. And she'd be like, don't bother me, I'm reading. So she never had any intention of it. She just loved playing mind games. And he'd be like, oh, Jesus. But he didn't push or bother her about it. But, this is how you really mess with somebody. And she was, like I said, she was a complete slob. Not only would he come home thinking on these days, all right, every day he came home, the house was a mess. Just an absolute disaster. Dirty dishes in the sink, toys everywhere. She would just leave things, a dirty dish on the couch, or, you know what I mean? Like, so if you can imagine, he's coming home to this disaster and he'd say, look, why can't you just pick up? Why can't you do this? And she's like, oh, well, when I was a child, my parents made me do everything. So I just can't do it now. I'm too traumatized to do it. So Ken would come home every night after work and completely clean the house. So all she had to do was pretty much make sure her child didn't get injured. Forget the mothering part, that wasn't going to happen.
She was still breathing.
Yeah. And she even, to a point, she had her daughter waiting on her hand and foot. She'd be like, go get me a drink. Go get me some food. So this little kid's running around now taking care of the mother, and she was picking up after her because she saw her dad doing it. So she expected, like, this is what we do. So in 1984, he was at the end of his rope and working full time, running the household, taking care of the child, and she was just, horrible. So they separated for 6 months. In that time, miraculously, she was able to keep the house immaculate, and she put some effort into decorating, and she organized the house and painted and put up nice curtains and stuff. So he's like, wow, okay, I love her. Maybe we can make this work. The day he returned, she went right back to it. Like, she didn't even give it a couple days. He walks through the door and she's like, all right, you're back. Like, and of course he stayed. So eventually she got a job at Alpine Manor, and he was really excited about it. He's like, good. She's got a job. She'll turn over a new leaf. We can have some more money, because she was constantly spending money. She was spending it faster than he could make it. Nearing the time that she was working at Alpine Manor, she decided to go back to school to get her degree in business administration. And so he was excited. So now she was in school. Now she was working. Things were really looking in the right direction. And she had 2 credits left to get her degree. And she's like, no, I'm quitting. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you quitting? She's like, I want to be a nurse now. He's like, okay, think about this. Get your 2 credits. Become a nurse. Now you're a nurse with 2 degrees and 1 in business administration. You could be running a hospital one day. And she's like, no. And he was used to her making, snap decisions like this, not following through, or getting really excited about something and then getting all into it and then dropping it out of nowhere. So he was really disappointed with that. But, at least.
So she gets bored easily.
Yeah.
It's like not enough of a challenge or something for her.
Yeah. And she doesn't care how it affects anybody else. So anyway, so now she's starting at Alpine Manor. And now we're going to see how things start to get really out of control. Now, I know that I've gone on about Cathy quite a bit. And this may be, well, when are you going to get to what she did? But there's a reason in why I'm talking about this woman. Because what she did was so diabolical. And I want you guys to see the slide or the slip or the journey into how depraved she gets.
Well, it's a pattern of behavior that you see in her life with her, I guess, loved ones, family and stuff. And then you see how she continues it on.
And she gets this man who loves her. He's a virgin when they marry. He has morals and ethics. They have a child together. He works hard. And she's able just to wrap him around her finger. So she's like, well, if I can do this, I can do more. So things changed dramatically after getting into Alpine Manor. And like I said, he was happy. Okay, she's at work, she's making money, and she started to socialize. She wasn't just going to be sitting on the couch eating bonbons and reading all day. So he bought her a new vehicle. It was this black truck, and she called it her love truck. Wait a minute. Her love truck. Mary, if you bought me a car and I'm like, this is my love car, wouldn't you be like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean about love car? Oh, nothing, I love the car. But seriously, I mean, I'm just going to call them red herrings because that's how my brain works. But anyway, and right away, she started her bullshit at Alpine Manor. There was a softball team there, women's softball team. And he loves sports. So he's like, oh, I'll coach it. And she's like, well, I'll be the assistant coach. And while she was at work, she would manipulate and say, okay, if you're going to act that way, you're not going to be in the starting lineup. You like to pitch? No, now you can be a fielder. How juvenile and ridiculous is this? So they'll be like, okay, Cathy, and not only that, this was even below a beer league. Because literally they would be out with a glove in one hand and a beer in the other. They just, and whatever, there's nothing wrong with a beer league, but it was just, he was just like, oh God, whatever. But she took it as an opportunity to manipulate people. So by the time she started at Alpine Manor, she was 450 pounds. And that's a lot of weight to carry to do such a physical job. But she ended up losing 150 pounds. So she went down to 300 pounds. So she was really, at that time working hard and, burning it off. That's good. But then again, he's like, oh, this is fantastic. She would come home and talk about the client, patients, and all that kind of stuff. But this morphed into shop talk. And she would go on about the sexual escapades between staff. And, who was gay and who wasn't gay and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, well, wait a minute. Now what's going on? What, But
so it was changed from just talking about things that are going on, how her day went, to
she gets a love truck and now she's talking about sexual escapades and who's gay and who's not gay and that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, it's different than talking about work, and then you're talking about the people at work and gossiping about them and their lives.
If you came home and started telling me about, oh, well, who's having sex with who and all this kind of stuff, I'd be like, wait a minute.
How do you know this stuff?
And why does it, who cares? What does it matter? So yeah, this is what's going on with her, and he's not he's not liking what he's seeing at this point. And unsurprisingly, she was manipulating people at work. And one in particular was a woman by the name of Dawn Male. I know.
Male?
Male, like M-A-L-E. And
Like not male, like the postman.
No. And so she was a lesbian. And she was 18 years old at the time.
Male. M-A, okay.
She was 18 years old in 1986. And she had a rough life. She had this punk rock image. She had lived with her grandmother. Her parents didn't want her. She couldn't finish high school. She was an alcoholic. She was in and out of jail. And it was a well-known thing that she just absolutely hated men. So when she met Cathy, she fell in love with Cathy almost immediately. You know, Cathy's like, okay, got another one to manipulate. So she had met Cathy on a night shift, and she charmed her right away. She thought that she was smart, caring, sexy, fun, pleasant, sweet, polite, pretty much everything that she was not. And she said that she thought that Cathy was the most intelligent person she had ever met. And I don't doubt that. But you see, there's all these things that are getting her in. So she would speak in a gravelly voice to her, and she'd say, "Ooh, I like that." Like, it's just so cringy. And Dawn would be like, "Oh my God, isn't she sexy?" So soon they were inseparable, and she was starting her little clique there. And Dawn said that being friends with Cathy made you feel special, like you were one of the popular kids in high school, and she picked you. And one of the things Cathy would say to people is, "Oh, you're so cute." Like, people be like, "Oh, she's giving me the vapors," you know? Oh. And so people got dazzled by that. She was charismatic, and she knew how to flatter people, and through that, she was manipulating them. Initially, her tall stature and size intimidated people, but she used it to her advantage. She also had, quote, something about her. And anyone who met her, like through there, said it was true. There was just something that drew them to her. She had green eyes that would sparkle and draw a person in. This is some of the things people said. And she sometimes would look almost coquettish and shy. And at the same time, she was also described as graceful. When Cathy called Dawn cute, and was invited to her inner circle, Dawn was like, "Oh my God, this is more than I could ever ask for." But she was manipulating her from day one.
Well, I mean, it's, finally somewhere she fits in. She's feeling, like part of a group. Yeah. This young woman who's, had a bit of a rough life.
Yeah, exactly. And right away, she does what she did. She was pulling on Dawn's heartstrings, garnering sympathy and a feeling of wanting to protect her. Again, her stories, instead of just her parents, was that Ken was abusive and that he ruined her life.
Of course.
And that he made her feel like a bad mother. And, but she was also, horribly abused as a child. And he would make her not want to leave her room. Like she was, stuck having to live in her bedroom by herself because he was so horrible to her. So Dawn fell for that. Hook, line, and sinker.
I was just about to say that. Hook, line, and sinker.
Yep, she got him. She had her. So as she's got this little, clique going on, this little, oh my God, she just ridiculous, childish.
Well, it's high schoolish, right?
Yeah, exactly, going on. She's got a woman falling in love with her. She's like, oh, right.
How old is she at this point now?
She's in her 20s.
Okay.
Early 20s.
Yeah, because her daughter is what, 6?
Yeah.
Or going on?
Yeah.
7.
So obviously their marriage wasn't going well. And he said, let's go to marriage counseling. Let's sort this out. And she's like, nope. So he went on his own. And the Reverend said, look, why don't you try to forgive her and also ask for forgiveness? So he's like, oh, okay. So he tried doing that. And of course, it backfired. It just was more fuel for the fire. So for her to say, oh, you're apologizing. See, yeah, you're doing all this horrible stuff. And he's like, gritting teeth, I'm going to forgive her. Which is bad because he's been letting her get away with this shit all along. She's been walking all around him, all over him. So after their 7th anniversary, he just felt this was as hopeless as it's ever been. And she had mood swings that were even worse. She had a volatile relationship with her mother that would go in extremes of, loving each other and hating each other. And she would say weird, cryptic things to Ken. Like, she'd say, Ken, I'm very bad. You just don't know how very bad I am. And he'd say, why? And she'd say, I just am. You just don't know. Or, I'm a terrible person. I'm a very dirty person. So now she's saying these things to him, and he's like, okay, what's going on here? And she also told him that she said, quote, she told him that there was no God or devil, just her. The all omnipotent Cathy Wood.
Oh my goodness.
When she talked like that, he said she would become very still and her pupils would be fixed and her eyes would gloss over and almost look black. And she'd have a blank expression with no emotion. I would be like, I'm out of here.
I'd be like, I'm creeped out. I'm leaving.
Yeah, it scared the hell out of him.
Grab my daughter and go.
So, in October, she told Ken what she wanted to get him for his birthday. And he's like, oh, okay, awesome. And she's like, I'm going to get you a threesome.
What?
Yeah. And he's like, no, because he's not that guy. He's like, I don't want a threesome.
Power tool
and
or
she's
new
like,
lawnmower.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I'm going to give you a threesome. And sometimes it's the person saying, can I have a threesome for my party? But she's like, I'm getting you one, which is,
Well, and if he'd never talked about it before, he'd probably be like, what? When did I ever say I wanted that?
Yeah. And she's like, okay, well, maybe you can just watch me and another woman. He's like, no. I don't want that. So clearly she's had an attraction towards women for a long time. And maybe maybe she was bisexual. I don't know. But she has had an attraction to women. And they didn't have much of a sex life anyway. Like they barely had sex. So I don't know if that was she didn't want to, or she was playing head games with them, or she was just not attracted to men. But so out of a sudden she's like, let's have a threesome. And so again, he was really uncomfortable with this. And, where did that come from?
Yeah. And if he's, if he's kind of a Christian, God-loving, God-fearing kind of guy, I don't think that would be, at the top of his birthday list.
Sometimes I don't think that matters because we know some, religious people can be the worst kind of hypocrites. But I know what you're saying.
But from when you sort of conveyed about him, it wouldn't be, his style.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, fine. How about if I take you to the Velvet Touch? The name of it is hilarious. So it was an adult sex store, but they had peep shows in the back. And it was just a dirty hole. Like, okay, here's a sex store. But can you imagine how gross and filthy this would be? You can buy what you want, and then you can go back and watch it or participate. And it's just so brutal. And you know what? To each his own. But, I mean, I just pictured this, as he described it, was just this dirty hole. And he's like, nope, I am not going there. And she lost it. And she's like, so pissed off at them. And then she's like, I'll go with my friends then. And she did. And she told him a couple weeks later, and he's like, what the fuck? That's my, version of it. He probably didn't say that. He probably was like, what the hell? And so also too, she was spending more and more time with her friends. She wasn't at home. She wasn't raising her daughter. She wasn't cleaning, cooking. She was working and hanging out with her friends. And she was always talking about this woman named, well, she was talking about Dawn a lot, but she was also talking about another woman by the name of Angie Brozek. And he had met her one time and thought she was okay because he met them as a couple, her and her husband, and they played cards together and had some dinners together. But then all of a sudden she was just, so it wasn't strange to him, but then she was talking about her in a much different way. And she started telling him even more strange things about Alpine Manor. And they were mostly about sex and relationships between staff. So it wasn't just like who was in each other's life. It was like now she was getting into the nitty gritty about what they were doing. And another thing that was absolutely true is that more than half the staff were gay there. So it was like, known as like Gay Pine Manor. Not that it matters, right? But still. she loved this because this was just like, okay, I got a situation here where I've got straight people, I've got gay people, I've got a whole load of people to mess with. And all of a sudden, she was talking about all these people. So he was like, all right, that's it. I'm out. No more of this. And he left. And with his daughter.
Finally?
Yeah.
For good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, kind of. You'll see.
okay.
So he moved out and took his daughter with him, and they moved into a motel just to get away from her until he could get a place. And eventually he got a nice little house for him and his daughter. So finally he just was like, I got to put my daughter first. We need to get out of there. I need to, have a decent, good life.
Normalcy?
Yeah. And then once he left, she just got way worse.
Party Central.
Yeah, exactly. Her behaviors began continued to deteriorate, and her lies became even more bizarre and occurred daily. So she was still talking to him every day, and then she had all this. She had her gang at work, and
She's talking to him, but not her daughter.
Yeah, exactly. And just before he moved out, she was attending many mandatory meetings. So that's what he thought at first, was like, oh, okay, well, part of the reason why she's not home, because she had to have these mandatory meetings. But you don't have a daily mandatory meeting. It's usually like once a month or once every couple months. And this is what she told him, and it's really disturbing. She said that they were investigating a rape of a patient. So as you can see, like, her lies were now getting into, like, you don't make shit up like that. And so he was like, oh, that's awful. And sometimes she just didn't come home at all. She would just be gone for days. So that led to him moving out with their daughter. On Labor Day weekend, she told him that she wanted a divorce. And he's like, all right, that's fine. So the same day he left, he came back because there was no AC at this hotel that they were staying at, or a motel that they were staying at. So he wanted to grab a couple fans for them. And when he got there, all the lights were on in the house, but the car wasn't there. And then he saw that the Lowell truck was parked under a street lamp just up the road, which is strange as well. And he saw Dawn lying with her head on Cathy's chest. And he's like, okay, what the hell? So then after that, she went into the house and he confronted her. And he saw that she had hickeys all over her neck. And he was like, okay, so.
Hickeys? Those are like high school.
Exactly. Who hickeys somebody? So he was devastated and shocked. So now he's got in his mind the threesome, Debbie David, shop talk at work about sex, mandatory meetings. And he's like, okay, all right, this is what's going on. It took him a little while, but all right. So he was like, okay, this is definitely over. He felt like an idiot. How couldn't he have seen it? And how could he ever trusted her? So it took a lot, but finally he figured, he's just like, all right, I'm done. He was so upset that he went to work and like lost it. And his boss was like, all right, you need to take a few days off of work here, because it just absolutely devastated him. I don't know. Maybe he was willfully ignorant. I don't know.
Or she was just that good at manipulating him.
Just that good. So, yeah, this is Cathy Wood. So
Part one.
So the next episode, I'm going to talk about more of the things that she was doing in Alpine Manor. Because, again, you can see how she's just running the show there. And we're also going to introduce and talk about Gwendolyn Graham. So I'm hoping that you're going to stick with me on this, because I'm getting somewhere with it. But I also think this is just a story of what a monster she was.
Well, it gives you...
Or still is.
It gives you a good insight into, the type of person that she is, what motivated her, what she did to draw people in, manipulate them, use them,
Yeah, she checks off all the boxes, or most of the boxes. If you were to look at the psychopathy test, she would be... Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm gonna see if I can do that on the psychopathy test and see what we come up with. If you get 40, you're screwed, because that's the highest number. You're like the worst in the world. But usually they're around the 30s, between 30 and 40. So I'm going to see if I can figure out where she is on the scale.
Gonna do the test for yourself?
I already have.
Should I be worried?
A little.
Okay.
I'm at 36. No, I'm kidding. I think most of us, although you'd probably score a friggin' 0, but maybe a 2. I think a lot of us fit in, the 20s, because, I'll show you the test again, and you can understand why.
Because we're human beings and we're flawed.
Exactly. And we can just be full of ourselves sometimes. So I want to thank our new Patreon supporters. And this is amazing. It's always amazing.
Yay.
But I want to thank Ellie.
Ellie, thank you.
Allison Hubner.
Thank you, Allison.
Natalie Hartley.
Thank you, Natalie.
Mary Alice Caffiero.
Thank you so much.
Kayla Langdon Shepherd.
Muchas gracias.
And Jill Masson. I'm sorry, Jill. Jill Manson.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah.
I'm trilingual in thank yous.
You are.
Actually, I can say it in Hungarian too.
Say it.
Kusinum.
There you go.
In Polish, dziękuję.
Amazing.
At least I think that's right.
But all joking aside, you guys are, wow, this is incredible. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're very, very, very grateful.
Yeah. And also, I want to say thank you to those of you who leave iTunes reviews. They're not all necessarily the best, but whatever. I got to take the good with the bad. And mostly the reviews I get are positive. So thank you for those of you that leave me reviews. But I like the good ones more.
Well,
no, you know what?
nature.
They're very heartening, because I think, all right, it's just, we put a lot into the show. So it's...
you care a lot.
I do. And it's hard not to be a baby about it, but...
You're not a baby about it.
Oh, I am. Because you'll come in and I'll have this crestfallen face, and you're like, what? And I'm like, read this fucking review. It's hard when you put...
I know.
I'm an extra sensitive person, but when you put, honestly...
Creative people, it's hard. Criticism, It's very hard.
Put a lot of work into it, and then someone can just, flippantly say, you suck.
I always try to find some sort of constructive criticism in things if I can, but sometimes people aren't always great at wording it that way.
You just don't say you suck. Well, maybe to some people. Anyway, so all said and done, thank you for the Patreon supporters and those who leave iTunes reviews. Thank you for everybody on the Facebook group. It's the best group in the world.
Facebook group.
If you're not on there, haven't joined it yet, please go check it out. Stat Shocking Traumas and Treatments. Everybody's amazing there. If you are interested in Patreon, slide on by Stat Shocking Traumas and Treatments. See some of the perks that you get. And there's a lot of extra episodes on there. And also, just all of you for listening and taking the time. Means a lot. And that's it for today.
That's it. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. So remember, take care of yourself.
Take care of one another.
And to most importantly, love yourself.
Peace.
One love.
True crime and it gets none realer. Sometimes it'll be the cure that'll kill ya. Gotta watch out, yeah, you gotta watch your back, cause you don't wanna be another episode on Stat. Thank you for tuning in, learn a thing or two. These medical mysteries can be unbelievable, yeah. Subscribe, make sure you do that so you'll be tuned in and be ready for the next show. Stat.